A former president weighs in on climate legislation. The head of FERC says he would settle for less than a comprehensive energy bill. Hear what John Wellinghoff told Clean Skies News. And Bolivia calls for a worldwide referendum on climate change.
From the Energy News Center in Washington, D.C., this is the Energy Report with Susan McGinnis.
Good morning, I'm Susan McGinnis. Thanks for joining us for the Energy Report on this 17th day of March 2010. Former President Bill Clinton is joining the chorus of those urging Senate Democrats to pass a climate bill this year. Clinton said Tuesday legislation would spur innovation and create new jobs. Those at a luncheon where he spoke say he also argued the bill being worked out by Senators John Kerry, Lindsey Graham, and Joe Lieberman will help the U.S. catch up with China in the race for clean energy. Many moderate Democrats are unsure about backing a controversial bill during an election year, but Clinton showed polling figures that he said demonstrate support for a comprehensive climate bill. Clinton said the bill should include a price on carbon, but he didn't get into specifics. Well, the chairman of FERC also wants the Senate to pass a comprehensive climate bill, but John Wellinghoff tells Clean Skies News he would settle for passage of energy-only legislation. Back in June, the Senate Energy Committee passed the bipartisan Acela bill addressing clean energy issues, among other things. Well, since then, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has been holding the bill, waiting to combine it with a climate bill, a plan the White House strongly supports. Chairman Wellinghoff says the Acela bill would help ease much-needed new transmission around the country, and that's an issue he doesn't think should wait until next year.
I hope that we can get a climate bill out. If we can't, I hope we get a bill that does include the transmission aspects, at least, of the energy bill, because I think we do need very much to build transmission in this country to deliver remote, location-constrained renewable resources to loads, and that's going to require transmission.
Well, Clean Skies also talked with Energy Secretary Stephen Chu about waiting for the Senate to draft climate legislation. Chu says he still isn't certain about the mechanisms the Kerry-Graham-Lieberman bill will use to price carbon. You can catch Tyler's report right here at cleanskies.com. A bill passed by lawmakers that would ease taxes for energy companies in California has run into a green wall. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger says he will not sign the measure because it would ramp up penalties against those who abuse tax credits. The decision came at the urging of a business coalition that lobbied against the bill, saying it would make businesses reluctant to claim the tax breaks for fear of making an error. The proposal, which would match credits and penalties already allowed for federal taxes, was intended to help businesses in the state's green technology sector. The Bolivian government wants the people of the world to hold a global warming referendum in the wake of the Copenhagen Conference's failure to reach a new binding global treaty. President Evo Morales is inviting governments, scientists, and advocacy groups to a conference April 20th to the 22nd. Organizers say the conference will try to organize a world referendum, although few details are available now. Bolivia was one of 6 countries that kept the last UN treaty conference from adopting the Copenhagen Accord. At that conference, Morales joined Venezuela's Hugo Chavez in declaring capitalism the culprit in global warming. The summit's conclusions will be delivered to the next UN-sponsored meeting on climate change, now scheduled for late November in Mexico. Climate researchers in Canada claim they're being muzzled, their stations closed, and funding slashed by the government. This is coming from a report by a coalition of 60 non-governmental organizations. The Climate Action Network Canada says Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government talks about taking climate change seriously, but it's trying to hide the truth and undermine research. The group says the government has effectively slashed funding for university-based climate science by failing to renew the Canadian Foundation for Climate and Atmospheric Sciences. The report also examines the need for Canadian research on climate science. Massey Energy is buying independent coal producer Cumberland Resources for $960 million. This deal will give Massey what it's calling highly complementary operations in central Appalachia. CEO Don Blankenship says Cumberland's track record of low production costs is in line with Massey's strategy. Cumberland operates mostly underground coal mines in southwest Virginia and eastern Kentucky. Massey believes more than half of Cumberland's estimated 416 million tons of contiguous reserves are metallurgical coal. That's used in steel making, and it commands a higher price than coal burned for electricity. With Cumberland, Massey will have a reserve base of 2.9 billion tons, 1.3 billion tons in met coal. Well, oil prices are up after crude inventories rose less than expected last week. This as we get official word that OPEC will keep output levels unchanged. Saudi Arabian oil minister Ali Al-Naimi says prices are beautiful and there's no reason to revisit the group's output limits. The API's weekly report shows that crude inventories rose 400,000 barrels last week, about 1.5 million barrels less than analysts were predicting. Official crude inventories from the EIA are coming out a bit later today. The check of the latest prices here, we have benchmark crude at $82.55 a barrel on the NYMEX, up 85 cents. Henry Hub natural gas, $4.32 per thousand cubic feet, down 2 cents. Well, a $7.6 billion natural gas deal could help Pakistan avert a growing energy crisis. Pakistan has signed a deal with Iran for construction of a pipeline pumping Iranian natural gas to Pakistan, which suffers severe electricity shortages. This is called the Peace Pipeline and has been long delayed, planned since the 1990s. It was originally supposed to go from Pakistan to India. Well, under today's deal, Pakistan can charge a transit fee if the pipeline ever extends into India. Under the deal, 750 million cubic feet of gas will be pumped to Pakistan daily from Iran by mid-2015. Pakistani Petroleum and Natural Resources Minister Naveed Kumar calls the deal a milestone toward meeting the energy needs of the country. Well, what does the FCC's broadband plan have to do with energy? Well, plenty if you ask the groups that want to advance a smart electric grid. The GridWise Alliance, this is 125 organizations working for a more interconnected grid, says it welcomes the policy. The alliance says President Obama's goal of giving all Americans access to broadband would help consumers get information about their energy use and make informed choices. GridWise President Catherine Hamilton says the plan recognizes the need for utilities to ensure reliable, secure, and efficient operation of the electric grid. GE Energy also endorsed this plan, saying broadband is key to smart grid development. Dominion Virginia Power is upgrading 13 power plants to produce electricity more efficiently at an expected cost of $500 million. The company says it'll add more than 400 megawatts to its capacity without adding to fuel costs. It says that is on top of 300 megawatts of capacity it's already added over the past 2 years. Dominion says these upgrades will bring more power for customers without added pollution and without the need to build new power stations. And a $4 billion wind project in Michigan could bring offshore wind farms to Lake Michigan and turbine manufacturing to the western part of the state. The Muskegon Chronicle says Scandia Wind offshore of Minnesota has proposed building a wind facility 6 miles off the coast of Grand Haven. With 2 more proposed wind farms in the area, Scandia says it would work to bring a wind turbine manufacturer to western Michigan. That could mean 3,000 jobs for the economically hard-hit region. Here's a look at energy goings-on around the Beltway today. At 1:30, the Environmental Integrity Project has a teleconference on the rise of dangerous mercury pollution levels at more than half the coal-fired power plants in the country. That's the Energy Report. Thanks for joining us here in the Energy News Center. For any suggestions or comments about our programming on Clean Skies News, we'd like to hear from you. You can email us at contact@cleanskies.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, too. I'm Susan McGinnis. You're watching Clean Skies News.